Hello, welcome to Campfire Clarity. This is my first video, so I hope it goes well. I have drawn some tarot cards to give me an idea of what message Spirit wants me to bring through today. If you don't know me, feel free to check out my About Me section in the video description below. I also put a few links to the different tarot card decks and oracle card decks that I use. So in front of me, I actually have a spread that I pulled before pressing the record button because I wanted to meditate on the cards that I pulled, and I wrote a few notes that of some things that have come to me based on the cards that I've pulled. So as I was meditating, I was reminded of a time when I was a kid. We lived kind of in a rural area, and we had, cornfields on one side of our house and bean fields on the other. So it was not really out in the country, but it was far enough out to be kind of in a little bit of an agricultural area. And my dad was a beekeeper for a while, and we had all these honeybees that we learned not to be afraid of, but rather to kind of see as our friends, my siblings and I. And we would have we had a little wader pool, one of those inexpensive plastic wader pools that we would play in as kids. And sometimes the bees would get, stuck in the pool, and because their wings wouldn't work when they were wet, they had a hard time getting out of the pool. And so we would rescue them. And we would dip our hand in, under the bee and hold it up, and the water would roll, run through our hands, and eventually the bee would be on our palm, and we would just watch it as it would, like shake all the water off and then fly away. And so I kind of developed this identity as a bee rescuer. And I was fascinated by these bees. We also had these beautiful garden spiders that, they were big and they were brightly colored, and they would make these ornate, beautiful webs in our yard. And so I kind of made friends with these spiders too, and I would just watch them. I would sit there and I would watch them, and sometimes I would pick up a leaf or something and throw it in the web, and the spider would go racing to the thing that shook its web and discover it was a leaf and turn around and go back to the middle of the web. But just seeing the quickness that spider would react, and it was just fascinating for me. Well, one day when I was sitting there watching this beautiful garden spider in kind of a corner of our house where it had built its web, a bee flew into the web. And it happened so quick. And before I could say or do anything, the spider raced to the bee and started wrapping it up in its silk. And I just watched in distress as one of my bee friends was completely immobilized and then became a meal for this beautiful but lethal spider. And I remember feeling helpless as that spider made this bee its meal. And as someone who identified as a bee rescuer, there was nothing I could do. As I sat there, it was one of my very first lessons as a kid about kind of this circle of life. And as I was thinking about that story, it reminded me that sometimes we consider ourselves rescuers of other people. And we can develop such an identity as a rescuer that we fail to recognize that it can be a cloak for control, for being someone who tries to control situations to the very best and highest good that we can imagine for our loved one. And what ends up happening is our loved one, this could be a partner or one of our kids, or even one of our parents as they get older, right? What ends up happening is situations find our loved one, and they have to figure out how to navigate those situations. And if we cling to our identity as rescuer, we may, either try to intervene, which isn't a great idea all the time, or we can find ourselves feeling completely helpless when calamity strikes in their life. And we attach ourselves to the result that they are experiencing. One of the things that I'm thinking about now that's coming through in my mind is something my dad always used to say. When my dad was a pastor, and his sermons would just fascinate me. I loved listening to my dad preach. He's a wonderful preacher. And one of the things that he would say is, God doesn't give you the grace to go through someone else's difficulties. As I translate that to my own context, I think about the fact that, when we are going through something, Spirit guides us and leads us to the best possible outcome. And it's our job to decide whether to take the prompting of the Spirit or not. But someone else coming in and interfering with our situation is not gifted that same grace and guidance that we are, because they aren't going through that situation. We are. And so we are gifted the grace. And if you can think about times in your life when, you were going through something, even something devastating, and someone else comes in and tries to shower you with solutions and ideas and surefire strategies to get through a situation, it's not always very helpful. Even if it's your parent, even if it's your kid, right? And so if you're watching this today, it could be that Spirit has brought you to this video to encourage you to find balance in times when you feel like you have to be the rescuer. Instead of being a rescuer, try to be an anchor for your loved one. Whatever it is they're going through, don't attach yourself to the problem or the solution. That's not your job, even if you are that person's parent. There are situations that that person needs to go through, and the best solution is the solution that their higher self is going to offer them. And it's their decision whether to take that advice, that guidance, that solution or not. But if you attach yourself to the situation or the solution, then it can leave you feeling very helpless. And sometimes the best possible solution for you when you're seeing someone else go through a difficult situation is to walk away and let them figure it out. Probably one of the hardest things you can do if you love someone is to walk away and let them figure it out. To offer them kindness, compassion, a generous spirit, but not solutions. Let them figure out the best solution for their own situation. And in the case of the bee with the spider that I remember from so long ago, it could be that certain situations have to involve death. It doesn't always mean the death of a person, the death of your loved one. It could be the death of their job, the death of their hopes and dreams, the death of their relationship, the death of whatever situation it is that they are trying to navigate. Because death often brings, let me back up, death always brings new life in various ways. So when you are, the cards that I've pulled here, it's the Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles represents close examination of a situation. The Page of Swords. The Page of Swords doesn't always do things the way that we would want them done. The Five of Cups, which brings disappointment, dissatisfaction with the way that something is turning out. The Death card, which always brings new life. But something comes to an end. And then the Empress, who represents new life, creation, beauty. These cards give me a message of letting go. It's not your job to find the solution to the situation that someone else is going through. Just be there for them. I hope this has been helpful. Be sure to check out the description box below for some more information about who I am and what I have to offer. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.